So are you loosening your grip on the songs a lot more?
I'm just trying to go for a different sort of song, and these work better if they're kind of written as a collective as opposed to me just sitting alone in my office writing stuff. You know, I mean, because a lot of them are kind of groove based and stuff like that, and it's difficult to do that sort of thing on a piano. You know.
Is that a confidence that you found after working with Grinder Man?
Well, it began actually with the Abattoir Blues session. We Grinder Man, we became Grinder Man, but the people in Grinder Man went into a studio in Paris and just sort of started writing stuff together, and it suddenly opened the fucking floodgates. I mean, everything started coming out. It was like just a kind of untapped vein, and so you know, a very rich vein, and so there's a lot there, and there's a lot to go with in that.
I mean, I noticed that there are a lot of similarities to the feel and the brute force of this record, like Abattoir Blues, and that wasn't so evident on some of your previous albums. And the only thing that I can think of as well that has changed is Belixa Bargelder leaving.
You know, I think things just happen. You know, I don't think that had anything to do with Blixa. I think I mean, one thing that happened with Blixa leaving is that Warren stepped forward more, and in the sense that he had more space to perform, and he's a very visceral. He's noisy. You can't stop him from making a noise, you know. And and this is you know, kind of beautiful thing, and I think Blixa was becoming more kind of cerebral about the way that he was approaching things, to say the least. And I think the last record we made, which was together, which was Nocturama, Blixa came in with a Hawaiian guitar, or one of those slide guitars, and says, "I have this is what I will play on this record." And you know, if there's any fucking instrument in the world I loathe, it's this sort of slide guitar thing, particularly when it's played. You know, I don't like it. So there's you know, I think things were kind of needing to change in a way. But yeah.
That said,
I mean, well, actually, what I was trying to do with those records, as a songwriter, was to write a certain type of song. I was really going for a certain type of write a kind of these classic emotionally charged songs. You know, and I think I did that, and I think I achieved what I wanted to achieve with that. And then it was, you know, then things change, and you become interested in other things. You know.
I mean, were they gospel influenced? Was that because that's what a lot of people talked about for some of those albums, some of those previous albums?
I think it was more. I think it was in general, but not altogether. But a lot of it was about, for me, you know, writing well-crafted songs and stuff. You know,
I have to say, listening to this, there are elements of it which do remind me of the kind of material that you released earlier in your career as well, and that is that it's a noisier sort of affair.
Yeah. There's more kind of deranged playing on it, in general, which is just. I mean, which is the songs are kind of like that, so they need that.
There is one song on the album that really did strike me. What is it? We Call Upon You to Explain Yourself, Dear Author.
No.
I've only listened to it.
We call upon the author to explain.
Yeah. I'll paraphrase it, but yeah. But it's not only is it an incredibly powerful song musically, but the subject matter of it is very interesting because it's the sound of what seems to be you in a conversation with God, and I guess talking about the state of affairs in the world and a question of why it should be so.
Yeah. That's not bad for one listen.
I do my very best, but that did, I guess, trigger off questions because I know that you are a man of faith, and whether that is a reflection of your. I mean, is is that a reflection of your questioning of your faith?
Well, I'm always questioned the whole thing. I've always questioned it. I've always doubted most of the time.
Have you?
Yeah, but I mean, I think doubt is a. If you don't have some kind of doubt and you don't have a kind of questioning mind about your faith in things, then it's a very dangerous game to be playing. You know, it's the people who don't have any doubts that are, you know, bombing the shit out of the world. And you know, I think I have a healthy relation to that sort of thing. I have an increasing disgust for religions in general, but a basic belief in some other kind of force at work, you know. But you know, that particular song, you know, it is a basic, you know, I've written them before, but it's a basic kind of good old-fashioned knees up sort of screed, and an extended kind of complaint about everything, the little things, the big things, just a kind of long moan, and it's playing, and it's kind of it's playful, and it's playing with the idea of complaint as much as it is about who's actually running the show, whether I'm running the show as the author of my songs, or God is the kind of author of the universe, you know. So it's a very playful kind of, you know, screed, as they say.
Do you really dislike Bukowski?
I do, yeah.
I must be adolescent in my tastes.
Very.
Extremely.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't want to delve into your relationships in your band too much, but I did notice the last time I spoke to you was in Grinder Man, and that there was this healthy bit of argy-bargy between you and Warren in a very very friendly way, but in a sense of I guess him putting you in your place a little bit, or maybe challenging you a little bit. And
Is this in the last interview we did?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a contrary bastard, that guy.
But I'm wondering whether that's a help. I mean, having somebody in there who... a lot of people possibly put you up on a slightly elevated platform. And I wonder whether having somebody who is able to talk to you at your own level and put you in your place occasionally might not be a good thing.
There are times I allow Warren to put me in my place. I mean, you know, I admire Warren immensely, you know, and he's brought an enormous amount to the band over the years, and increasingly so. You know, and so yeah, but he often sees the other point of view. He's actually from a different generation, Warren. He's like 10 years younger, and it very much it is a different point of view for people who grew up 10 years younger than my generation. A really kind of cynical bunch of people. You know, we can't. You know, everything's done through kind of gritted teeth, and Warren's much more open to everything. You know, he's more. You know, my generation questioned everything, and you know, it was a good thing to do, but it was actually also a kind of sort of stifling thing to do as well, and I think the generation that came after that didn't question things in the same way.
Yeah, I guess my question is, you know, do you like having somebody there to push back against you to help you in your work?
Not particularly.
One thing that you did say recently as well was that if the creative juices stopped flowing, you'd be quite happy to give up being a musician and a performing musician. And I have to say, after seeing you perform in Grinder Man last year, I can't quite believe that.
Last year?
Well, this is being played next year.
Oh,
it's been very tricky.
Right. Oh, right. Let's hope I'm still alive to be dead. But anyway, Oh, that's put me off. I don't remember what you were saying.
Okay. When I spoke to you last time, you said very briefly that, look, if the creative juices dried up, you'd be quite happy to walk away from the whole music game, from being a musician and being a performing musician. And I have to say, after seeing you play, I don't quite believe, I can't believe that. I find it very hard to believe.
You know, I totally stand by that. If the urge to create dries up, and I don't have that, it's a bit like being, having your testicles chopped off. You know, you quite happily walk away from sex, because you don't have that urge. I have a compulsive urge to write and stuff like that, and I always have, and it actually it gets more so, and it gets more so and more kind of intense in a way. And the thing is, the thing about Warren is that he has it too. It's a particular way, that he'll ring up. Warren rang me on the train trip home from recording the Dig Lazarus Dig record, where everyone was like cross-eyed with exhaustion. And he's ringing up going, right, look, let's book the new Grinder Man one. I got some ideas for it, and all, and just this kind of, and I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And there is a kind of, there's a compulsive aspect to both of our behaviour around the creative process. But if it went away, I mean, I wouldn't, I'd feel I'd had a good run and cool. I'd walk away and do something else,
So many of your songs refer, have biblical references or references to Jesus or God, and some in a more straightforward way, some in a more elliptical way, some in a comic way, some in a cynical way, some in a searching or loving way. Was that always true of your songs, or is this something more recent?
I think it was always true. I can remember as very young writing poetry, and the stories from the Bible always played there was always a strong element of that, even in my very, very early poetry, which I'm not going to
recite for us now.
Recite on radio. But there was a kind of fascination. There was a fascination when I was a choir boy at school, and at the cathedral that I went to, and I had to go to church maybe 3 times a week for about 3 or 4 years, and I was actually kind of interested, especially in the biblical stories.
How old were you when you started reading the Bible?
I kind of got into the Bible because I went to art school and became very interested in religious painting. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was because I understood the stories. I knew what those paintings were about, and I took a great interest in them. And then I think after that I started to kind of read particularly the Old Testament a lot, and I did that for quite a few years, and that had a huge influence over the way I saw the world, really, and also the songs that I wrote at that time. And then I kind of gave that up and looked at the New Testament after a while.
So what are the differences?
But it's only kind of one element of what I'm doing, really.
But what's the difference between your Old Testament and your New Testament songs?
Well, I think that there's a kind of more humanistic approach to the characters in my songs, a more forgiving approach to the narratives. I think that this particular record, Dig Lazarus Dig, despite the title, is probably the least obsessed or religiously obsessed record I made in years. Is really not about that. And there is a song called Jesus of the Moon, really, but I just felt it was a kind of nifty way of describing a sleeping woman, and a sleeping woman that I was kind of departing from. It just felt good to describe her in that way. But it's I guess the reason why it's on the record, this particular song, even though it's not really a ballad record, and this is very much a ballad, is that it felt like, to me, a kind of fresh take for me on the leaving a woman type of song that I often write. There seemed to be a kind of rebirth in the whole thing that sounded kind of nice to me.
You said that this was your least biblically obsessed record, in spite of the fact that we've heard 2 Bible or Jesus-related songs. But there's also a song on here called "We Call Upon the Author to Explain." That's kind of like, asking God to explain why life and the earth are such a mess.